Have you ever noticed that sometimes the biggest obstacle in your life isn't a lack of talent, motivation, or opportunity? It's something much quieter than that. It's the strange feeling that tells you to stay exactly where you are, even when you know you're capable of so much more. What's surprising is that this voice isn't your enemy. In fact, it's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. And once you understand why your brain loves the comfort zone, you'll never look at your own behavior the same way again. Most people think the comfort zone is about laziness. They believe that people stay stuck because they don't want success badly enough. But that's rarely the real reason. Your brain isn't asking one simple question every day: how can I make this person successful? Instead, it asks a completely different question: how can I keep this person alive? That difference changes everything. Your brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in a world filled with uncertainty. Long before modern jobs, smartphones, and social media existed, humans faced predators, harsh weather, disease, and food shortages. In that environment, taking unnecessary risks could mean death. Playing it safe often meant surviving long enough to have children and pass on your genes. The strange part is that your brain hasn't changed nearly as much as the world around you has. Today, the risks are completely different. Sending a job application isn't dangerous. Speaking in front of an audience won't get you attacked by a wild animal. Starting a business probably won't threaten your survival. Yet your brain often reacts as if these situations carry the same level of danger. Have you ever felt nervous before making an important phone call? Have you delayed starting a project even though you knew it could improve your life? Have you stayed in a job, a relationship, or a routine simply because it felt familiar? That's your brain choosing certainty over possibility. One of the most fascinating discoveries in psychology is that uncertainty itself creates discomfort. The brain prefers a predictable negative outcome over an unpredictable positive one. That sounds irrational, but from an evolutionary perspective, it makes perfect sense. Imagine walking through a forest thousands of years ago. You hear a strange sound you've never heard before. Do you investigate because it might be harmless? Or do you assume the worst and walk away? The people who assumed danger survived more often than those who took unnecessary chances. Over generations, brains became wired to treat uncertainty with caution. That wiring still exists inside you today. Every time you're about to step outside your routine, your brain starts producing warning signals. Sometimes it's anxiety. Sometimes it's self-doubt. Sometimes it's procrastination. Sometimes it's the sudden urge to clean your house instead of working on the thing that actually matters. It feels like you're making a choice. Often, your brain has already made it for you. Think about the last time you wanted to make a major change. Maybe you wanted to lose weight, learn a language, ask someone out, start investing, or finally launch that project you've been thinking about for years. At first, you probably felt excited. Then something happened. You began thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I'm wasting my time? What if I'm not good enough? Notice something interesting. Your brain rarely asks, what if this completely changes my life for the better? Negative possibilities naturally grab more attention than positive ones. Psychologists call this negativity bias. Our brains give more importance to potential threats than potential rewards because missing a reward usually isn't fatal. Missing a threat sometimes is. That's why one criticism can stay in your mind for weeks while 10 compliments disappear by tomorrow morning. Your brain is scanning for danger, not happiness. Here's another hidden reason your comfort zone feels so attractive. Your brain loves efficiency. Every habit you repeat becomes easier because your brain builds neural pathways that require less energy. Driving the same route to work, brushing your teeth, checking your phone first thing in the morning, making coffee, scrolling through social media, these behaviors become almost automatic. Automatic behaviors save mental energy. That's incredibly useful. The problem is that your brain doesn't distinguish between useful habits and limiting habits. If you've spent years avoiding difficult conversations, avoiding exercise, avoiding challenges, or avoiding rejection, those behaviors become efficient too. Comfort isn't always healthy. Sometimes it's simply familiar. And familiarity feels safe. Researchers have found something called the mere exposure effect. Simply being exposed to something repeatedly makes us like it more. That's one reason people often stay loyal to familiar brands, familiar music, familiar neighborhoods, and even familiar problems. Yes, familiar problems. Think about that for a moment. Many people stay in situations that make them unhappy because those situations are predictable. An unhappy routine can feel less frightening than an uncertain future. That's why some people remain in careers they dislike for decades. It's why some stay in unhealthy relationships. It's why countless dreams remain unfinished. Not because people don't want something better. Because their brains keep whispering, "At least we know what happens here." One of the biggest myths about confidence is that confident people don't feel fear. That's simply not true. Confidence usually comes after action, not before it. Your brain often waits for evidence before changing its beliefs. Imagine learning to swim. Reading about swimming won't convince your brain you're safe in water. Watching videos won't either. Only repeated experiences teach your brain that what once felt dangerous is actually manageable. That's how comfort zones expand. Not through thinking. Through experience. This explains why the first public speech feels terrifying, while the 10th feels manageable. Why the first workout feels exhausting, but months later it becomes part of your routine. Why the first day at a new job feels overwhelming, but eventually you can't imagine working anywhere else. Your comfort zone isn't fixed. It's constantly moving. The question is whether you're intentionally expanding it or unintentionally shrinking it. Here's something even more fascinating. Your brain predicts the future based on your past. If you've experienced rejection before, your brain expects more rejection. If you've failed before, it prepares you for failure again. If you've embarrassed yourself once, your brain tries to prevent that feeling from happening again. This prediction system is incredibly helpful most of the time. But it can also become a prison. Because your future slowly starts looking exactly like your past. Unless you interrupt the pattern. This is where many people misunderstand motivation. They wait until they feel ready. But readiness is often something your brain never voluntarily offers. Waiting to feel fearless before taking action is like waiting for the ocean to stop producing waves before learning to surf. The waves never disappear. You simply become better at riding them. Every meaningful achievement begins with some level of discomfort. Your brain interprets discomfort as danger. Growth interprets discomfort as progress. Learning to tell the difference changes everything. Consider athletes preparing for competition. Their bodies become stronger because they repeatedly expose themselves to controlled stress. The same principle applies psychologically. Small moments of discomfort strengthen mental resilience. Every difficult conversation. Every presentation. Every rejection. Every failed attempt. Every new skill. Your brain slowly updates its internal map. It begins replacing "this is dangerous" with "I've survived this before." That's one of the most powerful transformations a human being can experience. Not becoming fearless. Becoming familiar with fear. There's another reason comfort zones become addictive. They provide immediate relief. Imagine you're about to do something difficult. Your anxiety rises. Then you cancel the meeting. Or postpone the project. Or stay home instead of going to the event. Instantly, your anxiety drops. Your brain notices. It learns that avoidance makes uncomfortable feelings disappear. That's rewarding. Unfortunately, it's also reinforcing the very behavior keeping you stuck. Each time you avoid discomfort, you teach your brain to fear it even more next time. The cycle becomes stronger. The opposite is also true. Each time you face discomfort and survive, you weaken fear's grip just a little. Progress rarely arrives in dramatic breakthroughs. It usually arrives through dozens of ordinary moments when you choose courage over familiarity. You probably won't notice the change immediately. But one day you'll look back and realize that something which once terrified you now feels completely normal. That's how your brain rewires itself. Not overnight. One experience at a time. Perhaps the most important realization is this. Your comfort zone was never meant to be your permanent home. It was designed as a temporary place to recover, reflect, and prepare. Staying there forever is like leaving a ship safely anchored in the harbor and forgetting that ships were built to sail. Your brain will probably continue suggesting the safest option tomorrow. It will encourage familiar routines. It will invent convincing excuses. It will tell you that next week is a better time. Next month. Next year. But now you'll recognize that voice for what it really is. Not wisdom. Not destiny. Not proof that you're incapable. Simply an ancient survival system trying to protect you in a modern world where the greatest opportunities often exist just beyond the edge of what feels comfortable. And maybe that's the real secret. Your brain doesn't hate your dreams. It simply loves your survival more. Once you understand that, you stop fighting yourself. Instead, you begin working with your brain, gently showing it that every small act of courage creates new evidence, new confidence, and eventually, a new comfort zone that once seemed impossible to reach. The life you want rarely begins with feeling ready. It begins with taking one small step while your brain is still whispering that you shouldn't. And each time you take that step anyway, you quietly teach your mind one of the most valuable lessons it can ever learn, that growth isn't the opposite of safety. Sometimes, growth is exactly what makes your future safer, stronger, and infinitely more fulfilling than staying where you are. If this helped you understand your mind better, subscribe for more videos like this.